Hi, welcome to Quilting with Carla. Today we're going to talk about making hourglass units in the shortcut sheet way. Shortcut sheets are a series of techniques. All you need is a regular quilting ruler. It can be any one. There are 7 different techniques, and for more information you can go to kitsbycarla.com. But to make the hourglass units, let me explain a little bit about what these are like. So an hourglass unit is made with 4 fabrics that come together. These are triangles, come together in the center, making that hourglass shape. The shortcut sheet will give you 5 sizes that have been calculated for you. So you can make a 5.5, 4.5, 3.5, 2.5, and the cute little 1.5s. So it'll give you strip widths to cut your fabric with. We're going to test using the 2.25 inch strips, which are going to give us the 2.5 inch final size. You have a choice to do it with either 2 fabrics, 3 fabrics, or 4. If you use 4, you can then decide if you want to use all the same direction or have a mirror version. Each sheet of hourglass units, you're going to make 44 at a time on the smaller sizes. The bigger ones, I don't have it in front of me. Could be a few less, but we are going to show you how to make 44 at the same time, or 22 left and 22 right. Let's have a look at how that's done. The first sheet I'm going to show you is the 2-color version. We're starting with strips of fabric. These strips are 2.25 wide. I'm going to get 2.5 inch finish units in all these examples. The length of the strip is going to be half width of fabric, which is about 21 inches. And the first thing you're going to do is, after these are sewn, press your seams open. Always, always press open. You can see that. This is the only way I get my seams straight. If they go to the side, what's going to happen is there's going to be a slight curve, and there may be a curve in the other direction if I press the other one the other way. But when I'm cutting them apart individually, I absolutely have to have totally straight. So I'm going to start with squaring the top. I look through the ruler, put the vertical lines on seams to make sure that my sheet is straight on all sides. I may need to tug a little bit. Remember, this is fabric, so it kind of wants to do a bit of an accordion with all these seams. But what I want is a straight top edge, and it has to be straight to the vertical lines of the seams. And make that cut. Flip that around. And now start cutting 2.25 inch rows. I'm using my ruler with the fabric underneath it facing away from me. 1, 2.25. You could put a mark on your ruler if you find that easier. I find this ruler is pretty good because my white line is my quarter line, so it's easy to line up. Keep my sheet flat. And from here I'm going to cut 9 rows, and they're all going to be 2.25. Goes pretty quickly. Make sure you have a good blade in your rotary cutter. I'm going to get 9 out of this sheet with a little scrap left over. And there's my scrap. Now when I sew these back together, I'm going to be flipping every second row, because what I'm getting is a checkerboard. You can see that as I'm laying these out. When I sew them at the machine, you want to pin so the seam is very straight, like that. When I pin, it's in this direction. You probably already do this, but someone had to show me this at one time, even though it was kind of a no-brainer. So I can actually sew, come right up to my seam, then pull my pin out. If my pin was sticking out the other way, I'd be under my 1/4 inch foot by then. So pin each one. That's how you're going to get very precise seams. And let me show you how that looks when it's done. This is like my easy bake oven. Ta-da! Now all I need to do is cut these apart. I don't need to measure anymore. My units are going to be 2.25, sorry, 2.5. I just pick one diagonal to cut through, and then I continue to cut on those same ones. Let's turn my sheet just a little bit so it's easier to cut. I'm aiming through the centers of these squares, right through the diameter of the squares. That way I know my ruler is straight because it goes from this one through those to the end. Notice that on the outside edge there is seam allowance, so you're not going to go into the corner of the two fabrics. You're going to be within 1/4 inch of the corner and make your cut. And I can also cut here, and again I'm aiming. I'm going to be on the 2.5 line, but I don't have to measure it. I really want to make sure I'm into those corners, and if there's a hair of a difference, that won't matter. And then my last one I'm probably going to measure because I don't have any outside edge to lay it up against, so I only have the one intersecting corner. So I make sure I'm straight when I look through the ruler, and that's scrap. Now I do take a small ruler at this point because it's just a little easier to handle than the long one. I'm cutting these apart, going from the tip of those two triangles right through the square. See that? Just right through this point to point. The outside pieces are scrap. One thing to look out for, one are these two little triangle pieces that might be sticking out at the end. You might need to cut those off. The other thing is look inside your seam. There may be a little piece of fabric tucked in there from the previous seam that was, see here's a little tiny one there. I'm just going to pull that out. If they're a little bigger, you have to put a little snip, like I would put that on a ruler and cut it. This one just comes out like that. This is going to interfere, if you don't remove it, it'll interfere when you sew your units together. Because when they come together, it puts extra thickness inside the seam. So make sure you check for those and take them all off. And then I'll just continue cutting this and end up with all my 2 fabric hourglass units. Pretty straightforward, and they look pretty good. So I'm going to put this aside. Now we're going to talk about the next version. This is a 3 fabric version. Move all this away. The 3 fabric version is like the 2 fabric, except your first sheet is going to be 2 colors, and then you're going to make another sheet that repeats one of those 2 plus a 3rd fabric. Again, you're cutting rows. You need an odd number of rows to get 44 units. So you're going to be cutting 4 from one set and 5 from the other set. So again, the same thing. You square up the top. Make sure your seams are all straight to one of the horizontal lines. Square that up. Flip it around. And cut your rows. The rows are 2 1/4. So when you finish cutting all these, you're going to have this 2-color version, and you're also going to have this 2-color version. One color is the same. When all these are together, this is what it looks like. So we had 4 of the orange purple, and we had 5 of the green purple. Now again, we're just going to cut them apart. You cut them apart by selecting a set of colors to cut through. You could do right through all the purples. Let's try that. Let's bring this around a little bit. It could be either one because there are no left and right units when you have 3 colors. I'll show you when I cut them apart. Again, I'm going through the diameter of the squares. And when I do this one, because I really only have 2 to aim for, and it's very easy to go accidentally crooked on the ends, I just line it up through my ruler on the 2.5 line and make sure that I'm in the intersections of those squares. And then the top one as well, I'll get one more out of there. So as I said, this is to make 44, and these are 44 3-color hourglass units. In this case, again, I'm cutting from the triangle tip to the triangle tip, right through the diameter of the green. And through the diameter of the orange. Same thing, I'll remove any little tags sticking out and look inside the seams for that little piece of triangle that might be there from the previous fold. There's one there. Just get rid of that. And there's a bigger one on this side. There it is there. Just there it goes. And there we go, like that. Let me take a few of those And I just want to show you what the left-right, why the left-right isn't a problem with these. I'll just cut this little strip apart. So these units are 2.5. And then I'll show you what I mean about, if I had started to cut in a different place, I'd still end up doing it the same way. Say I started to cut, instead of through the purples, if I started to cut through the yellow-green, my units would then be like this, and they would still be identical. So it doesn't matter where you start, you're going to end up with the same. Once you start, be consistent, continue cutting through the same first cut so that you do have the 2.5. You don't want to switch because then you'll just have one that's 1.25. So that's the 3-color version. Again, 44 done at the same time. Let me move this out of the way. Now things get a little more complex when we start talking about a 4-color version. We do the same thing with strips. We're cutting 2.25 rows. We're making 2 sheets, a sheet of one set of colors and a second sheet of a different set of colors. We cut rows that are 2.25 wide and we sew those rows together, making sure that we're always starting with the same color, that we're not accidentally flipping this one around. If we had taken this row and instead sewn it in this direction, what happens is you change your color combinations of your unit. Your unit gets cut out of something that looks like this. Go clockwise, orange, light green, purple, dark green. Then the one down here, when you cut it apart, you're going orange, purple, light green, dark green. It's a different order of the 4, so make sure you always go in the same direction and start with the same color, and then it's the same thing. You're just going to cut them apart. Now in this case, you're going to match these units with something from somewhere. It may or it may not matter what order these hourglass units are going to be in. I always read the block, read the unit, and I just made this little template out of a piece of cardboard. It's just so that I can see through where my block's going to be. Lay that out so I see orange, purple, light green, dark green. That might be fine because I might be joining that with something that has either purple or complementary. If I start in the wrong place, suddenly my orange goes from orange to dark green to light green to purple. This is a different order of colors. See the difference? It's not a mirror, it's the same one. They will all be the same. Once you start cutting one position, they're all going to be the same. They'll either all be orange, purple, light green, dark green, or they'll all be orange, dark green, light green, purple. You see the difference? Once you start cutting your sheet, you'll have all the same direction. So pay attention where you start. So you either start by cutting through the orange, or you start by cutting through the purple. Once you start, you continue and do the same cuts. So this is going to give you hourglass units that are all the same direction. Now the thing with the hourglass is you can have 2 directions. You can have left and right units. Here's a sheet ready with 2, again you're talking an odd number, I'm going to get 22 out of each. Well, I'm going to select a way to cut this one. Let's just say I start by cutting through the orange and the light greens. And all my units are going to be the same. So there's one set of cuts there, there's another one. They're all going to be identical, and I'm going to have 22 of them. In order to have the opposite direction on my other sheet, because now I want 22 with the opposite, I'm going to sew them together in the same way to make an identical sheet, but I'm going to start cutting in a different position. That's going to give me the opposite units. Again, I have 5 rows, 2 with the orange and dark green, 2 with the purple and light green. When I lay this on my first sheet, I'm getting a light green, purple, orange, dark green. When I lay it on my second sheet, I don't want to cut in the same position. I want to start in a different. So if I start with green, orange, green, here I'm going to start with dark green, purple, dark green. And that's how I'm going to get, look, this one's in the wrong direction. That's how I'm going to get the opposite of them. So I hope that makes sense. It's explained on the shortcut sheet itself. Hourglass units are lots of fun. You make some really interesting blocks with it. You can blend it with so many different ways. So I just want to tell you to have a lot of fun with this. I think it's a really great little unit to use. Have fun. Check out kitsbycarla.com to see more videos and more techniques.